Okay everyone, let's start with 2019 A Maths Paper 2. Continue on with the questions here. Alright, first question, x squared ln x differentiated with respect to x. This is a product rule. So differentiation of this, I'll differentiate the x squared, I'll get 2x. Copy down the ln x, plus by, copy down the x squared and then differentiate the ln x. Okay, that will give you 2x ln x plus by x. Very easy. Next, hence integrate x ln x. Okay, now this kind of question, right? I need to actually use whatever I actually write down over here. Okay, not exactly that. Okay, let me emphasize a little bit. Now I can actually say that I'm going to differentiate the question here, x squared ln x, that result into this answer. Okay, so to speak, differentiation of x squared ln x ends up with 2x ln x plus by x. Okay, now knowing this, okay, we can utilize it to finish off the question on the part 2. Okay, now it's the opposite. Instead of differentiating, I'm going to integrate. Now since the differentiation of the left hand side result to the right hand side, that means to say that if I integrate the answer from the right hand side, I'm going to get the answer from the left hand side. So it's like this. Okay, so integrate the answer, you're gonna go back to the question. That's the idea of integration and differentiation. They are the opposite. Okay, now the question is asking you to get integration of x ln x, and you see here there is an x ln x in the equation. What do you need to do? You need to rearrange them. First things first, I'm going to share the integration into each of them. So I just put it down like this. Okay, now I can factorize the 2 out, no problem, right, with factorizing the numbers from the integration. Okay, and then I will just integrate the x, so then I get half x squared. Okay, you need to put a plus by c also, then x squared ln x, and therefore I'll just kick it away to the other side. I put down x squared ln x minus by half x squared. Don't need to put a minus c, just put down plus by c all the way. Okay, no issue at all, don't need to put a plus or minus here. And finally, to get the x ln x is basically making the subject divide by 2 on the right hand side, and you'll get the answer. Nice and easy. Okay, one of the very most common integration question. Next, proof this is equals to cotangent theta. Now cotangent is the same thing as cosine theta over sine theta, so we aim to get that. From the left hand side, I'll make the same denominator. So the first fraction I'll multiply by sine theta, and then the next fraction I'll multiply by 1 minus by cosine theta. So then they have the same denominator already. Put them together, so then I got sine square theta minus by 1 plus by cosine theta. Okay, and then divided by this. Okay, now I need to get something done here, so maybe we can actually utilize the fact that there is actually a 1 here. Okay, 1 itself is sine square plus by cosine square, so then I'll just put it down like this. Yeah, which will automatically cancel off the sine square theta on the denominator. Okay, let's just cancel it, because basically you're gonna get sine square minus by sine square, leaving us with negative cosine square plus by cosine. I'll factorize the cosine, so then I got negative cosine theta plus by 1. And as you can see it, the denominator also have the same figure, and just cancel them off. Okay, resulting in cotangent theta. Okay, cosine theta over sine theta. Hence, solve this. Okay, this is actually the things that we actually just proven earlier, which is cotangent theta equals to 3 tangent theta then. Okay, as you know it, cotangent theta is actually 1 over tangent theta, and then you just need to cross multiply them. I got tangent square theta equals to 1, then I just divide the 3 away. To continue on, I need to square root both sides. giving us tangent theta as plus minus root of 1/3. Okay, now the next thing that you need to do from here is to actually find out the basic angle. Okay, we call this as alpha. This is done by doing tangent inverse of the root 1/3. Okay, the question mentioned about the degree mode, so you better use your degree mode in your calculator. Key it tangent inverse of 1/3. Okay, that will give you 30 degree as the basic angle. Okay, now mind that you need to actually separate this answer into two. Okay, the first part is when the tangent theta equals to root of 1/3, and the second is tangent theta equals to negative 1/3. I mean root of 1/3. Now regardless of whichever you are solving, the basic angle is still 30 degree. Okay, yeah, because the numerical they are the same, root of 1/3. Be it positive, negative, it doesn't really matter in this case. Now, where is the location then? Okay, so draw a quadrant. Tangent theta is positive only on two locations, here and here. So this is the basic angle alpha. Okay, that is the 30 degree. You can say then the theta can be 30 degree, or, well, to go all the way to this line, you need to rotate quite far away. That is 180 plus by 30, 210 degree. Likewise for the other question here, tangent theta is negative. So there are two locations that tangent theta is negative. It can be here or it can be there. This is the alpha. Okay, so for this case, theta can be, well, all the way there is 180 minus alpha, which is 150 degree. And then the other one is, well, the rotation all the way there, which is 360 minus 30. Okay, the question though asks you to provide the answer between 0 to 180 degree. So tell them that the answer that you're gonna accept is only the 30 degree and 150 degree. The rest of them you just need to reject. Alright, that should be it. Show that x minus 1 is a factor of this. Tell them that by, okay, you tell them that let x equals to 1, okay, then you sub in into the polynomial. You get 1 plus by 1 minus by 1 minus by 1, you get 0. Tell them that by factor theorem, okay, this is very important, you must mention by factor theorem. This should be like the benchmark of what the question has to look on. Okay, the examiner will look on for this theorem. You're gonna just say, oh, I got 0, then x minus 1 is a factor. Okay, you have to tell them about the factor theorem. Okay, x minus 1 is a factor of blah blah blah. Okay, next, express this as the sum of three partial fraction. Okay, now making a partial fraction, the most important about making partial fraction is that the denominator must be factorized completely. As far as possible, must be factorized. And as you can see, the denominator is just a polynomial, which is actually from your part 1. Okay, this is a connected question because the part 1 you already shown that x minus 1 is a factor. Okay, you can therefore say that x cubed plus x squared minus by x minus by 1 is actually equals x minus 1 and some other factors. Now to find the other factors here, you can do long division or you can do comparison method. Now I know that most people don't really like to do comparison method, so I'm going to show it to you. Okay, long division, I just believe that around 70% of you should be able to do partial fraction quite well. Okay, now by comparison method, how do I do it? Now you see that the first bracket that I provide is x minus 1. The second bracket I have no idea, but you can tell that from the expression on the left hand side, everything is x cubed. So at the very least, the right hand side must have an x squared. Now, usually I will put down ax squared because I don't know what's the coefficient, but I can actually guess it here. The only way you can get a 1x cubed here, okay, is so by actually having a 1x squared on the other side. So this one should be just 1x squared or x squared itself. Okay, you can imagine that if you do a rainbow method of expansion, when you take x times by x squared, you're gonna get x cubed. Okay, that's why just leave it as x squared then. And then I can also guess the last number here. The constant number must be plus by 1. This is because that there's a constant number of negative 1, and when you do the algebra expansion here on the right hand side, the only way you can get a constant number is when you take the negative 1 times by another constant number. A constant times by a constant will give you the constant, basically. Okay, so I just need to provide a plus by 1. Now, however, by doing comparison method, I can't really pinpoint what is the one in the middle right away. So for now, I just put it down as bx. We need to find out the value of b to be able to complete the factorization. Okay, so tell them that from here, okay, just tell them that by comparing, you can choose comparing x squared or comparing the x. Okay, coefficient of x squared. Well, I get x squared on the left, 1x squared, okay? And then the right hand side, how do I get an x squared? I take x times by bx and -1 times x squared. That's how I get it. So then by comparing the coefficient, I got 1 equals to b minus 1, and therefore b is actually 2. So we have x minus 1 bracket, x squared plus 2x plus 1 bracket. And that's pretty much it. Okay, now we are done with the factorization. Wait, we haven't. Okay, we can actually factorize the quadratic a little bit more lah. This one here is actually quite a simple factorization. We can do cross factorization. X squared plus 2x plus 1 will become x plus 1, x plus 1, or just a square. Yeah. Okay, therefore the partial fraction that we are actually being asked to do is this. Okay, split them into a over x minus 1, b over x plus 1, and c over x plus 1 bracket square. Now, working on the a, b, and c, okay, I'll try to make the same denominator. The first fraction I'll multiply by x plus 1 bracket square. The second, I'll multiply by x minus 1, x plus 1. And the last figure, c, just multiply by another x minus 1. Okay, so again I'm going to do by comparison. 4 equals to all of these numbers expressed. Okay, I can do expansion, I can also do comparison method. I'll do substitution method here. Okay, let x equals -1. So then I'll get 4 equals a times by 0, b times by, well, -2 times 0, and then c times by -2. That way I'll get -2c equals 4, and therefore c is -2. Let x equals 1. Okay, I'll get 1 plus 1 times 1 plus 1 square times by a, which is 4a. Then, well, again the b will multiply by 0 lah, and the c will also multiply by 0, and therefore a is actually 1. And finally, I need to let one more value of x. I can do anything I like, maybe 0 for example. Okay, so I get 4 equals to a being a 1 already, right? Multiply by 0 plus 1 square. B multiply by -1 times by 1, and then c multiply by -1. So then 4 equals 1 minus b. Okay, just now I found the c as -2 actually. So then plus by 2. 1 equals to -b, and therefore b is actually -1. Okay, so our partial fraction is 1 over x minus 1 minus by 1 over x plus 1, then minus by 2 over bracket x plus 1 bracket square. Okay, that should be it. Next, solve the equation of logarithm. If I want to add two logarithms, I must make sure that they have the same base of 2. Okay, so log of 2x, I'll leave it alone. And then log of 16, I'll make the base into base of 2. So base of 2, I'll just change the base like this. Log 2x and log 216 equals to -2.5. Now, anytime I see a logarithm that is purely constant, like this, log 216, or any kind of log and whatever it is, constant, I know that this can be simplified into some constant number. Okay, log 216 can be made into log 2 power of 4. Okay, and log 2 power of 4 is the same thing as 4 log 2. and log to 2 is actually 1, meaning to say I get 4 times 1, 4. Okay, now basically saying that I have log 2x plus by log 2x over 4, or yeah, 1/4 log 2x is the same thing lah. To make this simpler, I'll just do substitution. Okay, let log 2x equals a. So then I got a plus a over 4 equals negative 5 over 2. So I got 5/4 a as negative 5 over 2, and then I just get the a, negative 2. Okay, meaning to say that I have log 2x as negative 2. Now convert the logarithm into indices. That will give you 2 power of negative 2 equals x, and that is 1/4. Okay, it's given that log of this equals to that. Express z in terms of y. On the left hand side, if I combine the two logarithms, I will get log of z over y. Now since both sides are logarithm, I can actually just tell them that by direct comparison, z over y equals z plus by y. They want to express z in terms of y. From here onwards, you just do algebra manipulation, making the subject. Like this. So then z is y square over 1 minus y. Okay. State the range of values of z and explain why y is between 0 and 1. Okay, express it. This is quite an interesting question. Now, the question here actually starts with your logarithm. We have logarithm of z here. Okay, meaning to say that it's confirmed that z cannot be negative. Okay, because when you actually have a negative on the logarithm, inside the logarithm, you're gonna get a math error. So first things first, the value of z must be greater than 0. Okay, strictly must be greater than 0. That goes the same thing for y also lah. Okay, at the very least, log y must be greater than 0. Log y, likewise, y cannot be negative, so y is greater than 0. However, they claim that y must be between 0 and 1. So why? Why is that so? Okay, let's think about it. Okay, if anything to do with this, I would say it has something with this guy, the answer from the first part. Okay, if I carry down the first part here, I can tell that z is actually greater than 0. Hence, y square over 1 minus 1 is also greater than 0. A must. Okay, it's a must that y must this thing must be greater than 0 also, right? And second, you look at the numerator. This thing here is never negative. Okay, it's a quadratic after all, so it's never negative. But how about the 1 minus y? Now, the 1 minus y, we only know that y is greater than 0. But 1 minus y, how about it? In the entirety of this fraction, y square over 1 minus y, the end of it must be greater than 0. So, this must be never negative as well. Okay? Why is it must be never negative as well? Okay, let's just say always positive lah. Why is that so? Because numerator is like positive, the denominator is also positive. Positive divided by positive is greater than 0. That's the only way you can get greater than 0. I mean, imagine that the denominator is negative, and you get positive divided by negative. That is negative. You know that. Okay? So, the second requirement is that 1 minus y must also be greater than 0. Okay? So, to speak, 1 is greater than y, or y is actually lesser than 1. Hence, okay, in conclusion, right, y must be greater than 0 as well as must be lesser than 1. Okay, if you draw this in the linear inequality, okay, y is greater than 0 is like here, and then y is greater than lesser than 1 is like here. So the area that they are actually common are here. Conclusion, 0 lesser than y lesser than 1. Y is between 0 and 1. Okay, I think this question here is a bit tough for O level. Okay, not really tough lah, but I think it's quite difficult to actually really think about it. Okay, under the exam condition for secondary 4. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, it's just 2 marks, so don't sweat it. Okay. Fx is given such that this thing. Okay, given that this and that, blah blah blah, show this. Okay, this will be plenty of differentiation. So, let's get the f prime x first. Okay, by doing integration, you can get it. So, I'm going to integrate this whole fella. So then cosine is a negative sign. Don't forget to divide by 3. Sine is from cosine. Oh, but you need to make it plus then. Okay, and then divided by 2 also, plus by c, which is negative sine 3x plus by 2 cosine 2x plus by c. Okay, leave the c alone. I cannot do anything yet for now. Okay, next I can find the fx by integrating further. Okay, I'm going to integrate this whole chunk. Okay, integrate this, I will get negative sine 3x is from cosine 3x divided by 3. And then cosine 2x is from sine 2x over 2. Plus by cx plus by d. Okay, you have to integrate everything, and you know that constant number c is just a constant number. If you integrate, you're gonna get cx. And above all, you need to always put an extra constant number every time you finish your integration. So I need to put another alphabet d, another constant number. Okay, and this is where we are going to work out all the numbers given here. Okay, I like pink color. So f0 equals to 0. Okay, sub in x equals 0 into the whole function of fx. Okay, which is what we had just now. Cosine 0 over 3 plus by 2 sine 0 over 2 plus by 0 plus by d equals to 0. Cosine 0 is 1, so I got 1 over 3. This is 0 plus by d. So then d is negative 1/3. Found it. Next, f of pi over 2 equals 5 over 6. Well, let's see. Pi over 2 is 90 degree. Okay. Well, I will have cosine of 3 pi over 2. Okay, wait, give me a moment. Okay, I just realized a mistake here. This one I shouldn't put a negative. Integrating cosine is from sine. Yes, okay. Good thing that I actually realized this before going further. Yeah, sine 3x there, so this one should be positive. Integrate sine, you got negative cosine here. Yeah, there should be a negative cosine here. So this one is negative 1/3, and then d is positive 1/3. Whoops, almost. Okay. Yeah, anyway, back to the question here. Put down x equals to pi over 2. And then plus by 2 sine of pi over 2 plus by c times by pi over 2 plus by 1/3 equals 5 over 6. Okay, well, you just need to work this out. You can use calculator and everything. Cosine of 3 pi over 2. What you gonna get with that? If you actually trace it down, that will be 0 here. Yeah. 2 sine of pi. Okay, these 2 will cancel off. Then you got sine of pi, which is also 0. So then I got c pi over 2 plus by 1 over 3 equals 5 over 6. Okay, then, well, I think you just need to solve this thing. I got c equals to 1 over pi. Okay, c is 1 over pi. Hence, I got the equation of fx fully as... Okay, let me just copy down this thing. C as 1 over pi, and then D as 1 over 3. And then pi over 3. Okay, sub in pi over 3 inside. negative cosine of pi plus by, okay, I keep just put sine of 2 pi over 3 lah. The two will cancel each other, right? This thing. Plus by 1 over 3 plus by 1 over 3. Okay, so cosine of pi is actually negative 1. So this one become positive 1/3. Sine of 2 pi over 3. That will be root 3 over 2. And then plus by 1 over 3 plus 1 over 3 is 2 over 3. So then you got 1 plus by root 3 over 2. Shown already, yeah? 1 plus root 3 whole thing over 2. Nice. Just be careful not to make any mistake in between. This is a very huge 9 marks. So yeah, the scariest part is you did a careless mistake like what I did just now and didn't realize it until the end. Okay, very dangerous. Next, question 6. A tangent to a circle at the point of 5,5 pass through the origin. The line with the equation is normal to the circle. Okay, tangent to the circle at 5,5 pass through the origin. Okay, 5,5. Okay, I'm not sure how to put this down. Okay, let's just anyhow draw the circle lah. Okay, we have no idea how the circle and where is it located at. Okay, but there is actually a point of 5,5 here. That is tangent to the line, and this tangent also pass through 0,0, somewhat like this lah. Okay, then there is a line with this equation is normal to the circle. I like the equation to be proper like this. Normal to the circle. Okay, the line with this equation is normal to the circle. This is actually a little bit ambiguous. I don't think they really explain it properly. But what they say this, right? Actually, they meant it that this line actually cross the normal to the center of the circle. Okay, I believe so lah. Otherwise, I don't think there is any use of stating this line is normal to the circle. Okay, so another line that is normal to the circle. Okay, this is the y equals 1 over 3x plus by 2/3. Now, if you have, okay, wait, before I go there, right? Okay, let's find the equation of this line. Y equals to mx plus by c. The gradient 5,5 and 0, 0. If you find the gradient, you will get 1. Okay, and therefore I will get y equals to x plus by the intercept to the y-axis, which is, well, because you have 0, 0, it basically cross to 0 lah. So I just write y equals to x. Okay, this is the two equation of the line. Okay, okay, wait, I just realized that this normal not necessarily is actually crossing exactly there with the line of tangent. Okay, how do I know that? The gradient here is 1. The gradient here is 1 over 3. If they are indeed perpendicular, then the gradient must be multiplied into negative 1, right? So yeah, I don't think that is the line. So let me just cancel this line. And one more thing, this gradient is actually positive number, so it's somewhat going up. So it should be like this then. Okay, so this is the line. But regardless, we still can tell that this line actually crossed the center of the circle, which is a good deal. Okay, still a very important thing to find out. Now, what to do? How to continue here? Okay, properties of circle. If you have line of tangent to the circle, which is the 5,5 and the line of y equals x, right? Know that you actually can get a line that is normal to the tangent, and they will always be perpendicular. Okay, what I want is actually to find this line. Okay, this line has the gradient of negative 1. Okay, because this gradient is 1, so this gradient must be negative 1. Perpendicular lines and on. M1 times M2 is negative 1. So I can say that y equals to mx plus by c, negative x plus by c. Okay, and actually you can tell that the line also pass 5,5. So then I got 5 equals negative 5 plus by c. C is actually 10. Y equals negative x plus by 10. Now why am I actually even looking for this line? Well, you can actually realize that this line of the perpendicular must also be intersecting with the line that we had just now. Okay, these two lines intersecting right in the center. Okay, every time you have a normal to the circle, okay, they will always pass the center. Since we have two of the normals, it's then logical to say that they intersect at the center of the circle. Well, so what does that bring us? Simultaneous equation. If I do simultaneous equation, I will get the intersection point. Multiply by 3. So then I got x equals 7. Okay, sub in the number, I get the y as 3. 7,3. That's the center of the circle. Okay, I think this question is quite tough because this is just like one whole chunk again without like telling you what to do. Okay, so that's the center. And how do you find the radius? Okay, find the distance of 7, 3 and 5, 5. Okay, that should be the radius, right? 7 minus 5 squared plus by 3 minus 5 squared. Yeah, in the end you got square root of 8. That's the radius. Hence the equation must be x minus 7 bracket square plus by y minus 3 bracket square equals to radius square, which is 8. Done. Find the coordinates of the point of the circle which is nearest to the x-axis. Okay. Can. Now, let's draw the circle. The circle center is 7,3. And the radius is actually 8 units. Okay, if that's the case, I have actually tracked this downwards, like perfectly downwards, like that. The coordinate must be 7, -5. Yeah, technically. Okay, and then if I draw the x-axis, maybe around here. And then the y-axis, maybe around there. Okay. Yeah, like that. Okay, that's how the circle should look like. The x-coordinate of the point of the circle which is nearest to the x-axis. Huh? What? Okay, wait. One more thing. I actually had a typo here. Radius is square root 8, not 8. Okay, so it's 3 minus root 8. Now you key this in calculator, right? 3 minus by root 3 of 8. What do you get? You'll get 0.171. Okay, so there's a correction here. Since the lowest point is actually 0.71, it doesn't cross the x-axis then. It should be like this, almost crossing the x-axis. Almost. Okay, how do you actually say that? Like this lah. This point here is this. Okay, and that point should be the closest to the x-axis. Okay, cool then. So the coordinates of the point is actually 7, 3 minus root 8. Closest to the x-axis. Okay, this question will be tough without sketching the graph. Yeah, have no clue, right, what is going on. So my advice is that coordinate geometry of circle, right, always try to draw it. Okay, if really necessary, draw it as precise as possible. In terms of x-axis and y-axis, draw them, right? Question 7, out of syllabus, so I think I'll skip this question. Okay, modulus question is all not in the syllabus anymore, starting from this year. Okay, very nice. Next, question 8, the speed of the vehicle after passing point, these are blah blah blah. Okay, this is a linear law question. Okay, so I'll try to draw as best as possible. The question asks you to draw ln of v plus 3 against t. Okay, now what you might not actually realize is that whatever they mention first is always the vertical. Okay, meaning to say that this is the horizontal. Now, what to do with this then? Every time you are drawing a new graph of a linear law, you always have to provide a new table suggesting the new axis. Okay? Now, starting from the first, the time is t, which is whatever they actually also write down here, exactly the same. So I'll just copy down 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then, for each of them, I need to key in ln of the respective number. Okay, what I need to do is like this. For example, I just put down the ln of, okay, over here is 6.35, right? 40 equals 2. So I need to key in ln of 6.35 plus by 3. Ln of 9.35. Okay, key that in calculator. Do the same thing here. Is like ln of 4.38 plus by 3. Alright, so okay, let's just list them down what you're gonna get in the calculator. My suggestion is that try to put it in 2dp at the very least. Okay, this one is 2.00 if I put in 2dp. I mean 2dp, yes, correct. This is 1.74 and 1.48. Okay, yeah, I'll cancel this lah. I'm gonna eat some space if I keep it. Okay, so that's the location. And then a scale of 5 cm to 1 unit. Okay, I don't think I can do a scaling here. So, okay. Let's just try to draw it, okay? Because I can't really tell how many cm for each of these. Okay, this is the x-axis, which is t. This is the vertical axis, which is ln of v plus by 3. Okay, the coordinate. Okay, before I put the coordinate, need to put some number. Maybe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want until 8, right? 6, 7, and then 8. Okay, so it's quite enough. For the vertical, we need it all the way from the smallest 1.48 until the greatest 2.24. They say that 5 cm for 1 unit. 5 cm for 1 unit, but I don't know how many cm is this. Oh no. Okay, okay, I think this is 1 cm here. 5 cm for 1 unit. Isn't that so large? Okay, maybe I need to draw it a little bit further down so I can save some space. Okay, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is 1. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 2. Yeah, anyway, I have to draw with my own measurement lah, cause yeah, I don't have the exact tool to have the exact number here. Okay, so let's try to sketch it. First is 2,2.24. 2 is there, so 2.24 must be somewhere around here. A little bit off here. Okay, next is 4,2. Then next is 6,1.74. Okay, I need to put 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, and 1.8. I say 1.76. Okay lah, somewhat around here lah, somewhat. Okay, and then last is 8,1.48, which is around here. Okay, so this will be a nice straight line. Yeah, okay. Now, what's important in this line that we have to get is the y-intercept. This is the most crucial part that you must obtain. Okay, okay, where is this point here? I can't really estimate, but I guess this is actually somewhere around 2.4 to 2.6, maybe it's 2.5 something. Okay, again, I'm not drawing into scale, so I might be a little off. Alright, the gradient is that. Now, what's important? The gradient, the intercept is 2.5. So, if I would put down the equation is using the capital letter like this, I can tell that the C is 2.5. Okay, very nice. Next is the gradient. Now the gradient, you actually just need to use these values that we get in the table. So you can find the gradient by taking vertical minus vertical, 1.48 minus by 2.24 divided by horizontal minus by the horizontal. Okay, that's how we do get a gradient, and that should be something around negative 0.126. Yeah, so once you have everything already, you need to put it down into the correct scaling. Ln of v plus 3 for my vertical, and then the x is actually t plus by 2.5. Okay, that should be the answer for part 2 lah. Okay, not the answer, actually the process for the part 2. So let me carry this down. Okay, now the question also claims that the equation can be written as this: v equals to ae. Okay, let me copy down. V equals to ae power 1 t over k. Okay, it's a bit blurry lah, but that is a t there. Okay, now this is the important part. This expression and that expression are supposed to be the same. Actually they are the same, but they are looking very much different. Your job is to make them look alike. So what you need to do is by comparison method, but you need to arrange them into something that is easy to observe. Now what do I do is that I'm going to make the equation here into what we had on the graph that we got just now. I'll move the 3 first into the other side, so I got v plus 3. Okay, 2 reasons is that first I see a v plus 3 and there's a v plus 3 here also. So you know, why not? Okay, I'll ln both sides again because there's a ln of v plus 3, so that is actually a giveaway. Put a ln on both sides. Now what I need to do next is just to simplify the right hand side. Ln of multiplication, you can split them into ln of addition. And even further, I just factorize the power, so then I got t over k here. Now, for the one last comparison, I can actually tell that what we have here should be the same. Again, they are supposed to be the same as the expression. Okay, let's compare. The only constant number that you have here is 2.5. For here is the ln a. So then ln a is actually 2.5. The only figure that has a t is the t plus k. And this one is negative 0.126 t. So then negative 0.126 must be 1 over k. Alright, so yeah, with this I can solve for a, and I can also solve for k. Yeah, so the answer will be approximately a as 12.2, and then k is negative 7.93. Okay, 94 lah, put 3 SF. Okay, this is again approximation. We can be a little bit wrong, can be a little bit correct. Okay, this is depends on your graph. Okay, so state the speed of the vehicle at O. O is what? Fixed point O. Okay, O must be at the start. T seconds after passing O, right? So this is the time of 0. In any case, I can actually use the equation that we got just now. So V equals 12.2 e power of t divided by that. Minus 3. So let t equals 0. You got the v as 12.2 multiplied by e power 0 minus 3. You got, well, 9.2. Okay, with the number that I got, so it might be a little bit different with any number that you get yourself. Explain how the graph could be used to find the value of t when the speed of the vehicle is 5 meters per second. Okay, the graph that we drew just now, right, the vertical is actually ln of v plus by 3. So the question says the velocity is 5, meaning to say that I just get ln of 5 plus 3, which is actually equals to ln of 8. Okay, so I'm going to draw a wait a minute. Yeah, ln 8 must be around 2.079, which is 2.08. Yeah, so how do you actually get it? Tell them that draw horizontal line at 2.08. Okay, yeah, on the you draw a horizontal line at 2.08 and actually find the intersection of that line into the graph. Okay, so 2.08 is somewhere around here. Wait, let me guess again. It should be around here lah. Okay, then you can see where do they intersect the graph at. Okay, intersection here, then you bring it down. Okay, this is also again a little bit off lah, because I'm actually not drawing precisely because I'm not using the thing. So it should be somewhere around 3 to 4 lah, maybe 3.5, 3.4, somewhere around that. Okay, so yeah, tell them that the answer is this. Okay, by using the graph. Using your values of A and K, calculate the value when the vehicle comes to rest. Okay, the equation that we got just now is, well, this one here. Okay, comes to rest, meaning to say the velocity must be 0. Yeah, so I just need to solve this, move the 3 over, divide the 12.2. Okay, and then I need to ln both sides. So ln of this, and then if I ln the right hand side, I'm going to just get the t over negative 7.94. Yeah, so use your calculator and then cross multiply the t. Okay, you're gonna get somewhere around 11. Yeah, and that is the time when the vehicle comes to rest. Okay, next question. The diagram shows the graph at this tangent to the curve, blah blah blah. Wow, 11 marks again. They really like to give you a chunk of whole question lah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we want to find the shaded area here, so I need to find out, well, first things first, what is this line here that is actually tangent to the curve? Okay, the formula to find the area is integration of the top curve minus by the bottom curve. So I need the equation of the line. The curve is this, and then I want to find this is actually tangent at point P. So first, I'll get the dy dx, which is 8 times by 3x plus 2 power of negative 1, divide by negative 1 multiplied by 3. So then I got negative 8 over 3. Oh, sorry, this one should be 2 then. Then I just put down 3x plus 2 squared on the denominator. Yeah. Then tell them that at x equals 2, I want to find the gradient, that is the dy dx. 6, 8 square, 3 times by 8 square. So then I got negative 1 over 24. That's the gradient. So the line is y equals negative 1 over 24x. Wait, let me check again. You put x equals 2, you got 5 plus O. Wait, why did I put the 3 below? My bad. Wow, I think I'm getting old. The 3 should be above. Oh my god. Yeah, this one is 24 here. Yeah, so there's no 3 here. And then that means to say if you divide this together, negative 3 over 8. Yes, that should be the thing. Okay, the tangent of the curve at 2,1. So I can sub in x equals 2 and y equals to 1. You're gonna get 1 equals negative 6 over 8 plus by c. C must be 14 over 8, or that is 7 over 4. Hence the line that we having here is y equals this plus by this. Not such a nice equation, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Yeah, so if you want to do the integration, okay, to get the area, you are integrating top curve minus by the bottom curve. From 0 until 2. Okay, then I'm going to get 8 ln of 3x plus 2 over 3 plus by, okay, 3 over 8x, right? You integrate, you got 3 over 8x squared over 2 minus by 7 over 4x from 0 until 2. Yeah, then you just need to key in the number, and yeah, I'll just leave you for that to be alright, I guess. So then I'll get somewhere around this. Okay, I think this is quite a nice question for 11 marks. Not that difficult for 11 marks compared to the rest of them just now. Quite long and everything. Okay, question 10 out of the syllabus. Nice. Question 11. Okay, this is a vibe of R formula. The question asks you to find out the parameter, so that it's going to be that. Okay, I have 12 cm, I have 5 cm, I just need to find out KL and KM. How do I do that? Most of the time I just need to prove the parameter or whatever the show part by doing tuakaso. Simple as that. So then I'm going to do that tuakaso. I'm going to do a right angle triangle. So let's just imagine that I pull a line here, perpendicular. So okay, let's just say this is x lah. I am going to use sine theta equals to opposite over hypotenuse, so that xm is 12 sine theta, and xm is actually equals to KL. Okay, so this is actually 12 sine theta. And then another one, I'm going to use a cosine theta equals to adjacent over hypotenuse, so then xn must be 12 cosine theta. Hence, to find the parameter, I just take the 12 plus 5, obviously, plus by the 12 sine theta. And then kx. Kx is another 5 cm and 12 cosine theta. Okay, so I'll get 22 plus by 12 cosine theta plus 12 sine theta. And done. Find the value of r in when this is expressed as the r cosine of theta minus alpha lah. Okay, so get the r, which is square root of 12 square plus by 12 square, which is square root of 288, or that is 12 root 2. And then we need to find alpha. Tangent alpha is b over a, which is 1. So then alpha must be 45 degree, pi over 4. Okay, if I put in the radian mode. Hence, the parameter that we got just now, 22, plus by the R formula, 12 root 2, cosine bracket theta minus pi over 4. Okay. The maximum perimeter of the plate, P. Now, to find out the maximum value, is just that you need to tinker with the cosine here, because this is the only variable. Now, to make it maximum as maximum as possible, you need to set this as 1. Okay? Know that cosine can become 1 or negative 1 or anywhere in between them. So the best possible scenario is this is actually equals to 1. Hence, I got 22 plus by 12 root 2 as the biggest possible. Okay? Yeah. They don't ask you for the value of theta when this happens. So, just leave your answer like this. No need to tell them the theta. But if they tell you that they ask you to find out what's the value of theta such that this is the maximum, right? Tell them that cosine it becomes 1 when the theta is actually not the theta. The angle is actually 0 or 360 degree. Okay, so let's just say that it is equal to 0. Then I get theta as pi over 4. Okay, what if you want to let the theta to be equals to 360 degree, or that is 2 pi radian? You can get the theta as, well, that's actually quite a big one, 9 over 4 pi. I don't think this is actually can be accepted, because you can see the picture itself that theta is actually acute. Okay, they even mention it. So you have to reject the answer that is obtuse. Okay, that's it. Again, they don't ask you for the value of theta, so you don't need to show it. Show that the area of the plate is given to be this. Okay, this is a trapezium. So 5 plus by 5 plus what's the value? 12 cosine theta. Okay, this is the sum of the parallel lines. Multiply by the height, which is 12 sine theta. Divide by 2. Cancel, 6. So then I got 6 multiplied by 10 plus 12 cosine theta. But this is actually not exactly what they want from us. Oh, wait, I forgot to write the sin theta. Yes, okay, we have to expand it. So let's see, I have 60 sin theta, which is what they ask you, and then there is 72 sin theta cosine theta. Okay, so quite easy. I just need to use double angle formula here, giving us 36 sine of 2 theta. Yeah, proven already. The maximum area of the plate is obtained when the value of theta gives you a stationary value, blah blah blah. Okay, we are looking for the maximum area, maxima and minima. This is differentiation. I just differentiate this, I get 60 cosine theta, and then 72 cosine 2 theta equals 0. Okay. Well, I'm going to solve this. Let's just try to make it simpler. I divide by 12, so I got 5 cosine theta plus by 6 cosine 2 theta equals 0. Well, the bad thing here is that the angle is different, so I'm going to use the double angle formula. I will use the one with the cosine square, so that everything is in terms of cosine, which is nice. Expand everything, I get 12 cosine square theta plus by 5 cosine theta minus by 6. Okay, and then I just use the quadratic solver. Okay, cosine theta will be negative 5 plus minus root of 313 over 24. Well, I need to solve this. Okay, there are two values, right, with a plus and with a minus. Okay, but remember that theta is an acute angle according to the picture earlier. Okay, so I'm only going to take the cosine theta to be the positive. Okay, cosine theta to be equals to positive. If cosine theta is negative, right, it must be quadrant 2 or quadrant 3, and that means the angle must be obtuse or reflex. I want this to be acute angle. The only way I can get it is when the angle of theta is acute angle, cosine theta is positive. Okay, then I just need to do with calculator. Okay, I don't think we need to really do the basic angle and stuff like that lah. Okay, it's not necessary. Yeah, so put in 3SF, I'll get 529 here. Okay, that's the value of theta. Though the question asks you to actually give the stationary value. Okay, wait, give me a moment. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is cosine theta, I mean. So then theta must be in radian is 1.01 radian. Okay, so do the first derivative or second derivative, up to you. I'll do second derivative, I think it's much faster. So I'll differentiate it again. 60 cosine theta becomes negative 60 sine theta. 72 becomes negative 144 sine 2 theta. Okay, sub in 1.01. Okay, and this will be negative. negative number. Okay, hence when theta is 1.01, we have maximum value of A. And obviously, wait, do they ask you to find out the value of A? No, they just ask you to find the value of theta. So this is the theta that gives us the maximum value of A. Okay, yeah. Yes, I think that's it for this paper. Quite a long one. Yeah. So, well, just get prepared with the O-level paper. I think most of these questions are actually a good chunk of a question lah. You know, just now we did like the question that has 11 marks and so on. Okay, those are the questions that you need to be aware of. Try to do it carefully. Get as little careless mistakes as possible. And yeah, hopefully there's no error carried forward. Okay, please give a comment below if you spot anything wrong with my working, and please also check for the commentaries, because sometimes yeah, I just got some careless mistake that people point out, which is actually very good. Okay, and until then, practice more and get prepared for your O-level mentally and physically. See you then. Bye bye.